Back on the Boulevard, Sunday, June 2nd. As always, here to prove to you there is no such thing as football season. We are presented by the Believe Network tonight. Welcome into another edition of UFL Final, the very last edition of the 2024 UFL regular season. We had 40 games. We've shown you highlights for 36 of them up to this point. And Zook and I have had an absolute blast doing this show every Sunday night. Whether we've been able to come on at 6 o'clock Eastern or at almost midnight on the East Coast, we really appreciate everybody joining us tonight. If you're with us on YouTube, drop us a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. If you're tuned in on Twitter or X, hit us with a retweet, because even though it's late, we had some electric finishes that mattered. Things were on the line in the UFL this weekend. So without further ado, let's kick it off, Zook. In Protective Stadium, Birmingham and Michigan, a preview of the USFL Conference Championship game next weekend. 3rd and 8, it was Adrian Martinez who got the start, as he usually has all season. Some thought Matt Corral might come in for this one. I was one of them, and I was wrong. Martinez to Jay Sternberger on the first drive, who coughs it up on the goal line. Heads up play by Bumper Pool there, but Sternberger inches forward and falls on it. He gets credit for that fumble recovery. Birmingham setting up the T formation on the goal line. They go to CJ Marable. Scampers in from a yard out, and the Stallions open the scoring as they have all season. Birmingham on the 2-point try now. Jordan Thomas with a beautiful catch. We saw him do that all last year for the Orlando Guardians, but wait. They're going to take a look at this, and Dean Blandino says he doesn't have control. That would matter later in the game. It's 6-0 Birmingham. Danny Etling, the start for the Panthers, he hands off to Nate McCrary, filling in for an injured Matt Colburn. McCrary starting off early on a first down. Now a 3rd and 4 for Etling, stepping up in the pocket. Firing to the end zone, incomplete, and Jake Bates would come out for a 39-yard field goal to make it a 6-3 game. 5 minutes to go first quarter. Birmingham has it back now, and Garrett Marino, big-time sack for the former UAB Blazer, playing back in his home city, and Martinez was taking hits left and right. Bryce tornaded on that one, and if you're a Stallions fan, you're thinking, stop the bleeding. And Danny Etling turning on the Jets here for a touchdown run of his own, pulling the Panthers in front. Nothing went Birmingham's way in the first half. Michigan off to a 10-6 lead. Another sack. It was 4 of them in the first half for the Michigan defense. Noah Dawkins getting home on that one. Etling back for a 3rd down to Siosi Mariner, filling in for an injured Marcus Sims. He took over the game. 6:30 to go in the half now. Etling again stepping up in the pocket, and a beautiful dime to Siosi Mariner for a touchdown. Michigan out to a 10-point lead on the Stallions, who had not lost at home this season. Trying to answer after a 10-point deficit into the half. Give it to CJ Marable, who had over 50 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns of his own. Filling in for Ricky Person, who was getting some rest. It's 16-12. Michigan. Birmingham gets the 1-pointer. In comes Bryce Perkins for the second half. Tries to hurdle a defender. Bad news for Panther fans here. Bryce Perkins goes down. He does walk off under his own power, but you see him grabbing that leg here. Tough hit, tough way to land. Perkins may be out for the playoffs. We'll have to monitor that. He did not return in this one. 3rd and 6 now. Etling coming back in with a 3-point lead. Going to find Trey Quinn for a very important conversion. Now 1st and goal, a penalty. 1st and goal again. Etling looking for Hicatini. Good tackle at the 2. Another penalty for an eligible man downfield. Michigan backing it up again. 3rd and goal from Tuscaloosa. Touchdown. But wait, there's no shot we get another holding call on Michigan. Look at this, Zook. 3rd and goal from the 40, and they're just going to run it with Toatawa. And there's another flag for holding. What is going on with the pit? Look at this. We're at a 3rd and goal from midfield. I think they just wanted to back Jake Bates up a little bit for this field goal. That's my only explanation here, folks. So 44 for Bates to extend the lead to 6. Yeah, they gave him some more breathing room, right? That was the plan all along. 19-13 Panthers. 2:50 to go. Martinez still in the game. Got to make something happen with his legs. Makes it a 3rd and short here. Where will Birmingham go for the conversion? Marlon Williams gets the first down. 2:14 to go now. As we near the 2-minute warning, we get past it. Minute 56. Martinez. Dump off to Marable. Up the far sideline. CJ with a nice gain. Birmingham knocking on the door. Crucial 4th and 7. Game on the line. Who's going to make a play? Kevin Stone Cold Steve Austin with the reception. Seems like he always comes up in big moments. And on a 1st and goal, Martinez finds who else but Jace Sternberger. One of the most NFL-ready players in the league. Ties it up at 19. Birmingham with a chance to convert, to walk it off here. Marcus Baugh. And we're going to take another look at this one. Did he bobble it on the replay here? They say it's a good 1-point conversion, but I don't know. At a second look, Birmingham might have got away with one there. It's 20-19. Can we get in Jake Bates' range? Big sack there from the Stallions defense. Knocks Etling back 5 yards. Now finds Sayosi Mariner to get some of that yardage back. Tick, tick, tick. 30 seconds. 4th and 4. Gotta have it. And you get it. Nice conversion there. 2nd and 1. They're just trying to get Bates lined up. Etling takes off, gets a few yards. And Jake Bates comes out from 53 to win it. Can you believe it? In St. Louis against Michigan in week 1, he hit the walk-off winner. He was elated. In week 10, he misses against Birmingham, and the season for Jake Bates, at least the regular season, ends with some heartbreak. It's Birmingham 20-19. Danny Etling had to play most of this game as Bryce Perkins was supposed to be the second half starter, but again, came out midway 3rd quarter. The Panthers racked up over 100 more yards of total offense. Still couldn't get this one done. Again, nothing really on the line because they're going to play again next weekend in the USFL Conference Championship. But you have to give some credit to Skip Holtz and the Stallions, who trailed by 10 at halftime. Do have to clean some things up on that offensive line, allowing 5 sacks. But it's Birmingham completing the 9-1 regular season. Stallions 20, Panthers 19. On to Saturday afternoon, where home field advantage was on the line in the Battle Dome. The return of A.J. McCarron on his first pass attempt in 3 weeks. Just a little dump off there to Jacob Sailors. San Antonio gets the ball back early. They rolled out Chase Garbers. Calvin Turner with a conversion there on Garber's first pass. Now a 3rd and 15. And you know St. Louis gets after the quarterback with the best of them. Pita Taumopenu dragging Garbers down. This would be a defensive fight all game. 2nd and 1. Picked off by Cam Kelly off the tip. The Battlehawks secondary trying to bounce back from last week where they struggled. It's still scoreless in the 1st quarter. See this one again off the outstretched arms of Alize Mack. 3rd and 10 for McCarron. He has it back now, stepping up in the pocket, trying to find somebody open. And you know who he finds, Darius Shepard. But look at that play. A nice bat down there by the San Antonio defense, who played hard all game. They got the ball back deep in their own territory, and Juice Ellison coughs it up. Take another look at this one. Ellison through the middle of the defense, cannot hold on to it there. Recovered by Drayvon Askew Henry, and St. Louis is in business. 3rd and goal after Brahma stopped him on the first 2 downs. And look at this. They give it right back. Tease Tabor coming up clutch here. Possibly got away with one on Sailors. McCarron can't believe it. They turn it right back over and get no points. St. Louis did get it back, however, early 2nd quarter. A.J. McCarron over the middle, finding a receiver, now scrambling up to the line of scrimmage and finding Steven Mitchell Jr. in the corner of the end zone to open the scoring. Finally, the Dome with a reason to cheer. It's 6-0 Battlehawks. They get the 1-point conversion. Backed up in their own territory again here on a 1st down. This drive was crucial. First they go to Sutherland. Then they're going to run with Sailors. Getting close to the first down marker. 2nd and 2. 8 minutes to go in the half. Jacob Sailors again. Could they put together the 99-yard drive? McCarron, comfortable in the pocket, finds Butler along the near sideline for a first down. Moving the chains again. Wayne Gallman making a man miss, cutting upfield across into plus territory. Battlehawks still driving. 3rd and 1 now to keep it alive. Across the middle to Ja'Cour Pearson, who's going to get up the far sideline inside the 40. 2nd and 10 now. The little pitch out. Looking for some blockers. Wayne Gallman, big-time game. Remember, this started way back in Battlehawks territory. 2nd and 7 now. AJ gonna run and tease Tabor. Diving for the ankle as AJ runs out of bounds. McCarron right back under center. But he gets brought down there on the sack. San Antonio finally gets a stop on that drive. It was looking so promising for the Battlehawks, they had to settle for 3. Now with just 20 seconds left till the half, it was Quentin Dormady in for the injured Chase Garbers, trying to get them in field goal range. They tried one from 59, and it was blocked by the Battlehawks. San Antonio would be scoreless in the first half. So it was Dormady coming in after the Garbers injury, like we said, trying to settle in here. First drive of the second half, 3rd and 7. Finding his security blanket here, John Trey Kirkland, who had a huge day, and a 3rd and 8 for Dormady now. Steps up. Kirkland again along that near sideline, inside the 10-yard line. Brahma's in business. Juice Ellison redeems himself. Juice punches it in, and San Antonio's on the board with a score of their own. Now it's 10-6. No good on the try. Here's McCarron. Nice catch there by Butler, who the Brahmas defense mostly had in check, but he had a big one there. Here's AJ getting brought down again by that Brahmas defensive line, and this was just egregious. Garrett Nelson, you got the sack. You didn't need to do that. Clenching AJ's ankle, uncalled for, but the Brahmas back on offense now, over the middle to Calvin Turner. Dormady overshoots him. They had to punt. Back to the Battlehawks. They were fired up after seeing what San Antonio was trying to do to AJ. 3rd and 9 here. Up for the end zone. You think this one might have been caught, but tipped by Steven Mitchell into the hands of Tease Tabor, as you're going to see here on the replay. Not an interception because he lands out of bounds, but a nice PBU there from the San Antonio defense. Another field goal they had to settle for, make it 13-6. Crunch time now for AJ Smith, Quentin Dormady in the offense. 3 minutes to go. They get a 1st and 10, and that Battlehawks rush defense was just swarming the backfield. Willie Harvey, a Defensive Player of the Year candidate, had himself a huge day. 10 tackles, 2 TFLs, and a sack. But Dormady would deliver when it mattered to John Trey Kirkland with under 2 minutes to play. Touchdown Brahmas. All of a sudden, the dome goes silent. Are we going to be here next week? Are we going to have to travel to San Antonio? Let's find out. 2-point conversion to win it. Did he get in? Mike Pereira looking at it for the wrong reason, though. They were trying to decide, did he get in or not? Instead, Anthony Beck throws a super challenge for an eligible man downfield. They back it up and try it again, and this time it's broken up. Just an insane sequence from San Antonio. AJ Smith can't believe it. He wanted a flag there. Again, just a crazy sequence of events. Now St. Louis trying to ice it out here on a 2nd and 1. Brahmas get a stop. Now on a 3rd and 3, need another one, and a big-time sack from Bryce Thompson. So, San Antonio, 2 timeouts, gonna get it back under a minute. Can Dormady pull off some magic? Across the middle there, complete. Now 2nd and 9, under 10 seconds to play. To the sideline, incomplete, but a flag is gonna back them up. So a 2nd and 9, and they get a neutral zone infraction to put Ryan Santoso within range to win it. A slice. Ryan Santoso with a miss, Jake Bates with a miss in the earlier game. Both games decided by 1 point, and the Battlehawks will be back in the Battle Dome for the XFL Conference Championship next weekend. I could not believe that sequence at the end of the game. They call it a 2-point conversion. Anthony Becht and A.J. McCarron and Bruce Gradkowski have the wherewithal to throw the super challenge, and that's why we're in the UFL, folks. The 2-point conversion gets erased, and the Battlehawks hold on by the skin of their teeth. Again, Willie Harvey, magnificent game. Even though the Battlehawks didn't even have 200 yards of total offense, they clinch home field. For the Brahmas, you're going to want to look at Chase Garbers, who left the game with under 2 minutes left in the first half, and they left too many points on the board. Couldn't get the 2-point tries, couldn't get the field goals. It's Battlehawks 13, Brahmas 12. Now on to Sunday, a 4-pack of teams who were eliminated from the playoffs, but weren't going to let that decide their fate for the offseason. Here's Luis Perez on a 1st and 10, going deep to Tyler Vaughns against that DC secondary. Could not hang on. Nice break up there by Garyon Conley. But they come right back with Davion Smith. DC was the 1-point home favorite in this one with a high total at 46.5. Figured we were going to see some fireworks, but things started slow early. Could not pick up a 3rd down conversion there. Nice tackle by Anthula Kelly. Chris Rowland on his first kick return of the day. Now you're going to want to remember this because he got inside the 40 but couldn't house it. The UFL leader in all-purpose yards just knocking on the door. DC could not move the ball any farther than that. On that drive, they end up settling for a 44-yard field goal. That's good from Matt McCrane. Then Luis Perez was picked off by Conley, who had himself a day. We're still tied up at 3. Late moments in the first quarter. Conley knew where that ball was going. DC tries a 4th and 1. Cam Harris gets stuffed at the line of scrimmage. I was impressed with that Arlington run defense, who has been battered all year, stepped up in this one. Now a 3rd and 2. DC run defense making their statement, coming back with a stop of their own. Jonathan Garibay from 40 yards out makes it a 6-3 ball game, 10 minutes to go, second quarter. What do they say? Move in, now move out. Hands up, now hands down. Back up. Tell me what you're gonna do now. Breathe in, now breathe out. Keep rolling, 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 rolling. Keep rolling, 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 rolling. Touchdown, Chris Rowland. He finally got one. I've never rooted somebody into the end zone so hard in my life. Chris Rowland gets what he deserves. The home fans sent into a frenzy by the man out of Tennessee State Tigers. Chris Rowland, touchdown DC on the 2-point attempt. Alex Ellis catches it, but it's knocked away at the last minute. They took a long look at this one. Did he have control? They say no, and this ended up mattering so much down the stretch of this game. Now a 3rd and 6 for DC. Vincent Smith turns up the Jets along the far sideline, makes 2 men miss, and Smith is in for his first touchdown of the UFL career. 15-6 DC. Explosive plays were working. Could not get the 2-pointers though, and that's what it came down to. Arlington trailing by 9, 20 seconds to go in the half. They find Tyler Vaughns, who had himself a massive day in Audi Field. 17 seconds left in the half. They score and get the 2 with Devin Darrington to cut this to a 1-point DC lead, 15-14 into the break. Second half action now. Red zone for DC. Rowland, did he get it again? I thought he did. He rolled on top of the defender, but Blandino says no, bring it to the 1, and Cam Harris gets the touchdown for the defenders from a yard out. It's 21-14. Another chance at a 1-point conversion for DC, thwarted by the Arlington defense. That's the 3rd one of the day. Gotta have some of these if you're Fred Keiss and Reggie Barlow. Down 7 now. Perez, 7 minutes to go, 3rd quarter. Almost had Deontay Burnett in the end zone, but it's broken up, and they settle for a 31-yard field goal. But wait, the super challenge comes out from Reggie Barlow. They accept it for a delay of game to back it up 5 yards. Garibay nails it again, so DC loses their challenge, and they're still up 4. Perez on a 3rd and 23. This was a crucial play because DC gets whistled for a defensive holding, automatic first down, just an absolute gut buster for that Greg Williams defense. And on a 3rd and 3, Perez drops a dime to Tyler Vaughns along the sideline. Beautiful catch from Vaughns. Now Perez in business. Early fourth quarter. Finds his man again. Touchdown Arlington. They pull ahead in a back and forth affair in the District of Columbia. 23-21. Arlington trying to get the 2-point conversion that was supposed to be a pass for Vaughns. He says, I'll just scamper in on my own. 24-21. Actually, that's a 2, so now 25-21. Arlington with a 4-point lead. Tamu airing it out downfield for Brandon Smith. Touchdown defenders, but wait. Called back for a hold. So just like week 3, we'll run the same play and go right back to him. Brandon Smith double dips and the second one counts. Touchdown DC. 27-25 defenders. That one cashes the over at 46.5. 2-point conversion attempt, finally. Defenders draw one up that gets them in the end zone. It's a 4-point game. 11:41 to go. Jawan Manigo having some trouble with this decision as he pulls the ball back into the end zone. They took a long look at this one and eventually said safety. So a free 2 points from the mouth of Dean Blandino to the DC defenders because you can't do that. So defenders extend the lead to 6. Tamu with the ball back on 3rd and 8, going nowhere with Caden Smith. Big play there from Joe Powell in coverage. So 8 minutes to go in the game. Arlington got to rally back. And at the worst time, Luis Perez throws his second pick of the day. He had 2 picks coming into this game, and Monte Nicholson swipes that one away. DC, huge turning point of the game with 8.5 minutes to go. They're going to have a chance to extend the game to 2 scores. And on a 3rd and 18, the Arlington pass rush gets home. Defenders had problems up front of the offensive line all day. They try Matt McCrane from 54, but again, just put him in a bad situation, taking that sack. Now 3:43 to go. Perez, he's been excellent in this offense. Finding Sal Cannella, getting them in the red zone. 2nd and goal now, nearing the 2-minute warning. Perez steps up in the pocket. Deontay Burnett, touchdown Renegades. They pull ahead of the defenders with just around 2 minutes to go. They got to get the 1-point conversion to solidify it. Davion Smith pushed into the end zone by his offensive line. It's Arlington 32, DC 31. Jordan Tamu in the offense going to have one last chance on 4th and 4. Rolling to his right, trying to find the marker. Stopped short by the defense. Jay Hayes, the coordinator, had to be happy with that one. And for DC, a disappointing end to a painful season as the Renegades walk away with a 1-point victory. Remember, it was DC who beat them by 1 in their home building back in week 3, and they get revenge. Luis Perez, again, phenomenal outside of the 2 picks. Tyler Vaughns with a double dip for himself. Stat of the day was the Renegades holding the defenders to 38 rush yards, not something their run defense had done all year. And for DC, just 1 of 4 on the PAT attempts, a disappointing 2-3 campaign at home after entering the regular season 9-0 in Audi Field. A bright spot was Chris Rowland. It's Renegades 32, defenders 31. Top draft pick on the line in Memphis, the Liberty Bowl. Ready to go for this one. Josh Love gonna get the start. He was QB3 for most of the year for John DeFilippo and co. Picks up a nice first down there to Jonathan Adams. Trying to settle in, but that Houston defense was gonna make life hard for him. Big time strip sack. The offensive lineman ends up falling on it, and Matt Coughlin gets a 29-yard field goal to open up the scoring. Nolan Henderson for the Roughnecks had a nice last couple weeks for himself. Finds Kirk Merritt back from injury, missed the last 8 weeks with a busted wrist. But Merritt, they used him early and often. And Justin Hall, who's been magnificent all year for the Roughnecks, picks up a first down. Houston in business. Nolan Henderson, touchdown to Justin Hall. They score with 5 minutes left in the first quarter. But wait, John DeFilippo gonna use that super challenge, and they're gonna call the touchdown back where Houston decides to go for it on 4th and 2. And the Showboats defense comes up huge there with a stuff. Now Reed Sinnett in the game. Picked off by Quentin Meeks. Couple of picks for him this season. Memphis, 3-0 lead. The defense playing well through one quarter. Could they sustain that for the rest of the game? 5 minutes to go in the half. Nolan Henderson, Kirk Merritt to the 40, 35, 30, cutting back upfield along the near sideline, inside the 25-yard line. Merritt, so explosive, could play running back and receiver, but Molson kicks a 25-yard field goal. These teams could just not punch it in. Josh Love rallying with Sage Surratt, getting them in Coughlin's field goal range right before the half, and that was a huge kick. Open up the second half with another field goal by J.J. Molson, doinked off the left upright as the teams traded 3 points. It's 6-3 now. Memphis going to the far corner of the end zone for Dawood Davis, but its foot comes down out of bounds. They did call pass interference, so Memphis was going to get it on the short porch, and they get it for Darius Victor. The bowling ball barrels in from a few yards out, and Memphis is going to extend that lead to 9. Did not get the conversion. Down on the other end, it's Kirk Merritt finding the end zone for the first time this season. Now 12-9 Memphis. 3rd and 9 here. Picked off. Roby going to return this one after the somersault. Inside the 20. All the way to the end zone. But like many times in this game, we had some laundry that brought the return back, but Houston was going to retain possession. Instead of 6, they get 3. 12-12 ball game. Again, number 1 draft pick on the line. Jonathan Adams, first down Memphis. Another flag, that one for DPI. 2nd and 6 now. Darius Victor, rumbling, stumbling, bumbling down to the 2-yard line. They're going to punch it in with him on the second carry. Darius Victor, thick thighs, save lives. 19-12 after the 1-point conversion. And Nolan Henderson trying to cook here, make things happen. Anthony Ratliff Williams gets a big first down. Mark Thompson nowhere to be found with that Showboats run defense coming up big. 3rd and 10 across the middle. They're going to challenge that for a DPI. And guess what? Another super challenge comes through. I feel like we had the highest hit rate on super challenges all weekend. But on a 4th and 3, Henderson's pass is batted down at the line of scrimmage, and the Memphis Showboats complete the season sweep of their rival Houston Roughnecks. They finish the regular season 2-8 and with the number 1 pick. The Roughnecks finish it 1-9. And for the People's Gambler who had Roughnecks -2, better luck next year, friend. It's Showboats 19, Roughnecks 12. And that's 40 of 40, Zook. Wow. What a regular season in the UFL. Sure, we didn't have all the drama in Week 10, but that's okay, because coming up, we have the playoffs, which is where we want the exciting finishes, the high-scoring affairs, all the storylines and the drama. We want to save that for the UFL playoffs. And speaking of Week 10, Chris Zook had some moments he'd like to share with you from the weekend.
There you go. Cole, you said you want to see you run the ball more, right?
What's up?
You want to run the ball more?
Oh, sure, why not?
Well, I just saw you yelling and throwing your helmet a minute ago.
Oh, that was wrong guy. Wrong guy.
Appreciate it.
Cole, I'm not sure I believe him.
I definitely don't believe
him. His line coach just sold him out, said it was him, so we're good.
There's a lineman downfield. There's a line.
Which lineman? I need a number. Give me a number.
Guys, watch Julian Davenport, number 50. He's the left tackle. Watch, he blocks right there, and then watch him go down the field, down the field, down the field. He's downfield. There's no doubt.
He wins the challenge.
Follow the job, guys. It's a way to work it.
Can you believe that's how they won the game? The Super Challenge. I would love to go back and find out the amount of super challenges that ended up hitting this year, because this weekend it seemed like all of them hit. Back on the Boulevard Sunday, June 2nd, as always, here to prove to you there is no such thing as football season. We're presented by the Believe Network tonight. Again, thank you for joining us for UFL Final, the highlight portion of the show. Always a joy to do. That'll be the last time we get to do a 4-game highlight, but still plenty of action left with the playoffs coming up and a lot of other things that we're going to have some fun. We got the championship coming up, and of course, our postseason award show, the Freshies, coming up on Thursday night. Our last chance to hit a 4-leg parlay. We don't give out parlays on the Boulevard, but if you were betting along with us, maybe you were throwing some action down on a 4-legger. Let's check out how we did this weekend on the Boulevard, Zook. And I wanted to say first, this segment is presented by Icy Hot, where you can find some back pain relief. If you end up carrying something too heavy, you may get some relief from Icy Hot.
Stop it.
Over 46.5 in DC and Arlington. Started off slow for me. I think we only had like 9 first quarter points. But when you're betting on the 2 worst scoring defenses in the UFL, you get 63 total points out of this one. That's a cash. Do you want to do TPGs, or are you going to give me the honor?
Go for it.
So Zook referred to TPG's best bet on Thursday as the toilet paper game. Clever 3-letter acronym for what would otherwise be known as the People's Gambler.
Oh, and I didn't put them two and two together.
Listen,
My bad.
It takes a real degenerate to bet on this game, but I will say, TPG, I respect the guts. He texted us earlier and he said, "This is my absolute worst nightmare." But he had a chance at the end. We were thinking maybe overtime.
There's a segment after this that's even worse.
I just hate to see the 0-2 for him, because maybe we didn't give him enough of a chance early in the year. But hey,
no.
Counts 0-2 now.
I love it. You know why?
Oh, God.
Gave the guy a chance. Now I'm not the worst bettor on the Boulevard.
So this was Zook's plan all along, right?
Thank you, TPG.
Hey, 7-8, Zook, might get you in the playoffs in the NFL nowadays. But you're not done yet. What did you have this weekend?
Well, obviously, -8. Lost that. Ponies, they just didn't have it in the first half. We'll talk about that later.
I tried to warn you. They didn't cover since week 6. What is up with them not covering?
I don't know, but I've been jumping on them when it's the right time, and I felt it was the right time.
It was a bounce-back spot, and I guess the numbers have just been too big. We've talked about week in and week out. Are the Stallions overvalued? It seems going, I guess, week 7, week 8, week 9, week 10 with no cover. 0-4 against the number. Last 4 tries. I think the time for the books to adjust is now, and they have a little bit, because it's worth mentioning our UFL playoff lines are already out, and we have Birmingham as a 6.5-point favorite,
which is shocking,
over Michigan in the USFL Conference Championship, and St. Louis, the 3.5-point home favorite over San Antonio in those. Check out your nearest sports book for totals on those as well. And, of course, we'll have a full breakdown in our playoff preview on Friday. We'll get you some best bets. We go 1-2 as a show this week. Again, thank you, Icy Hot, for helping my back pain carrying the Boulevard boys through week 10. TPG, he had a start, sit, and sleep. Mark Thompson, just a no-show. I thought this was also a great spot with TJ Pledger out and Memphis being a horrific run defense. Well, it turns out most of the carries went to Kirk Merritt, who looked better early on. They did try to get Thompson involved. They gave him plenty of chances. He did squat with it. Not a good season for Mark Thompson. Not a good season for the Roughnecks. Just a train wreck of a campaign. He finishes with like 7 carries for 6 yards. Bryce Perkins was the sit. Out for the wrong reasons. He is ending up with an injury, so he comes out of the game midway through the third quarter. We'll have to check on the status of Perkins going forward this week. And Alize Mack was a sleeper, very low salary, might have been the lowest salary in the player pool at $2,800. He does not end up coming through for the injured Cody Latimer. So sadly, it was the last chance for TPG to go 3 for 3. He did not deliver. But I think he learned some lessons for next year. And listen, we go from right from this one into the playoffs. Still a chance for some redemption for Zook and TPG, and still a chance for me to keep going into the green, baby. We love it here on the Boulevard. All right, Zook, that is our best bet results and our look at DFS. We had a 4-pack of games this weekend. The 2 games on Saturday were for the playoff teams. The 2 games on Sunday for the teams that are just about ready to go play 18 on the golf course. We'll start with Saturday's games. Birmingham escapes Protective Stadium with a win over the Panthers. Jake Bates, really not even close on a 53-yard field goal to win it. You felt good about that if you were the Panthers. I mean, you've seen him do it before. And just the way that, the roller coaster that the UFL regular season can be, we talked about the way that the Panthers started it off with the jubilation and the happiness of an upset win over the St. Louis Battlehawks on a Jake Bates 64-yard field goal at home. And in Week 10, it ends with some sadness and some heartbreak. But if you're a Panthers fan, it's not time to panic yet, because you're going to have another crack at this squad next week in the USFL Conference Championship game. Remember, Michigan was without Bryce Perkins for the second half. Thought Etling played well, but they were also without Matt Colburn, their starting running back, and without Marcus Sims, who could be the best player on this offense. Michigan outgained Birmingham by over 100 yards. They did have 10 penalties that absolutely killed them. But looking down the line here, they only got in the red zone 1 time all day. So Birmingham defensively did enough. I did want to talk with you, Zook, a little bit about the Stallions offensively. We were talking a little bit before the show about they just completely looked out of sorts on the first few drives, to the point where we were getting some all-access comms between Martinez and Holtz, and we haven't really seen the amount of tension that we did all year between those two. And not like they were screaming at each other, but they were just not on the same page.
Right. That's why I said I was actually going to clip that up. Every time Martinez got to the
First
sideline,
4 or 5 drives right in a row.
Well, what are you doing? Why didn't you do this? It was just the whole time, and it was like, Skip, you're borderline putting them down, making them lose confidence.
Think too much. Yeah.
But they gave up 3 sacks in the first half too.
I think it was 4. He just kept getting tattooed left and right. And
I'm pretty sure it was it 3?
They gave up a ton of sacks. It was 5 sacks total. I think actually 4 of them were in the first half, because I do remember watching and tweeting out, like, Stallions fans have got to be cringing through this, because you didn't need to start Martinez. I don't know what Birmingham was doing here. I'm not going to go crazy and get super critical. Why are you starting the league MVP in a scrimmage? You had absolutely nothing to play for here. Oh, you want to bounce back because they ended your streak. So what? Focus on what matters here. Skip Holtz talked about, I want to play Matt Corral. I'd consider playing Matt Corral. Well, then they got down by 10 points, Zook. In the second half, if you're down 10 and you're Birmingham in this spot, would you have also started Corral? Because I would have in the second half.
No.
You want to roll with Martinez there?
You could tell that this game, that's something that I really, truly love about this league, is that you got 4 teams going to the playoffs next week, and you got 4 teams going home. And all 8 of those teams came out to win today. So
yeah,
I felt like first half, it felt like Martinez was trying to prove that he could be a pocket passer and not take off.
Yeah, he had
and
41 runs. Still, it's funny still, like even the game that he struggles in,
he only had
2 yards to carry.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know. And then you get into the thing where it's like, are they just trying not to show things for next week? Are they holding back on play calls? But they're still trying to win? I don't know.
Right.
I'm not taking too much stock in this game at all.
Yeah. You had the Stallions -8, and it looked good early. They got C.J. Marable going. They scored on the first drive, but, defensively, second half was great. First half, they let Sayosi Mariner behind the defense a few times. Mariner, for Michigan, want to highlight him. 7 catches, 110 yards, and a score. This is a guy they signed in, like, week 3 and could end up making a huge difference in this playoff run for Mike Nolan and the Panthers.
Second half adjustments for Birmingham. You give up 16 in the first half, 3 the rest of the game.
Yeah.
I told you when you got here today, I was like, man, we were doubting that anybody could score 20 on Birmingham. That's how good their defense was playing. And now all of a sudden Michigan's put up 16 in the first half on them. I'm like,
yeah, I think their average
I was starting to get worried.
Yeah, their average is still below 20, but they did have a couple slip-ups, like you said. The Houston game where they allowed 28 points. Didn't play well offensively against San Antonio. But again, not time to panic. This is still a 9-1 team. Great season for the Birmingham Stallions. Have to give it to them for the way they fought through this UFL season as back-to-back champs with a target on their back. They end up with 9 wins.
I was more worried about the coordinator change.
John Chavis, done.
You're throwing up 16 in the first half. That's what we're talking about. And then, man, what an adjustment.
Ton of yards, too, for Michigan. 324 total yards. But this was a, prototypical Birmingham find a way to win game. Skip Holtz talked about, we didn't beat our chest and we were 8-0 because we were a few plays away from 5-3. Here's another one. How many does Jake Bates miss from 53? And I'm not saying they got lucky, but, man, that was a crazy way to end the game. I cannot believe that Michigan was able to get in field goal range there to begin with, there at the end, and set Bates up. Looking down the line at this one, C.J. Marable, 10 rushes for 56 yards and 2 touchdowns, also added 29 receiving yards. There was a big play at the first drive of the game where Jay Sternberger almost had a touchdown, fumbled it on the goal line, and then recovered his own fumble. And they ran it in the next play. You think about how different the game could have been if Sternberger didn't recover that fumble. Birmingham offensive line did give up 5 sacks, and each one looked more painful as you just wondered, oh, man, is Martinez going to go down on one of these? And credit to him, he stayed tough and hung in there. And I don't think we saw anything from Michigan like we did from San Antonio. We'll get that coming up. I didn't see any twisting ankles. I didn't see anybody gouging eyes out. I didn't see anything crazy. Now, there could have been some of that stuff, but they weren't intending to hurt Martinez the way that some San Antonio players were a little too focused on McCarron's ankle. So credit to Mike Nolan there for the sportsmanship that his team was able to have in a situation where who cares if you get a flag, right? If you're the Michigan D-line, just pound him if he's going to be in there. But they wanted to win this game, like Zook said, and I have to highlight the defensive line for Michigan, specifically Garrett Marino. He came up huge. Former UAB Blazer playing in his home stadium there in Birmingham, had himself a day. I think he could be effective. And, I guess the last question I'll ask you, Zook, before we move on to this next game, if Michigan can do this without Colburn and without Sims, can they do it with those guys back and actually win a game this time that comes down to the end?
I think they can.
6.5 is pretty big. We can both agree on that, right?
No, you're asking, can they win?
I think with Sims and Colburn back, 2 of their biggest playmakers, we have to see on Bryce Perkins yet. I think Etling showed that he's capable today or Saturday. Can Michigan make enough plays with their full team back to win the USFL Conference Championship game, in theory?
Listen, I'm not doubting them.
Yeah.
I really won't. I don't want to give anything away for, the freshies or any of that. But
yeah, this isn't a will they. This is more of a...
We talked about Coach of the Year.
Yeah.
And could it go to Mike? It could. He's done a great job.
And his assistants as well.
With a squad that is... And no disrespect to Michigan, but with a squad that's less talented.
Yeah.
Right? And I think they can. I think they're well coached, and they can pull the upset. And I was on the phone with TPG yesterday, and it's something he said to me. He was like, there's always going to be an upset.
Yeah.
Is this going to be it? And look at Arlington beating DC last year in a championship. I just want to, you know what I mean?
You're wrong for that one. You're wrong for that one. Bryce Perkins, I did want to touch on him. About 6 minutes ago, third quarter, he tries to hurdle a man, and you were a Michigan fan, that is the last thing you wanted to see your potential path to the championship do in, again, a glorified scrimmage. Perkins goes down. He pops up, but immediately grabs the back of his leg. He does not come back in. This is a disaster for Michigan. What potentially could have happened to Adrian Martinez instead happened to Bryce Perkins. Now, again, Danny Etling played a great game. He ends up 16 of 31, 195 yards and a touchdown. He added 36 yards rushing and another touchdown. He looked like he was on the same page as his receivers, and they had that dumb sequence where they had the ball at the goal line. They got like 5 penalties on one drive, and they ended up having to play a 3rd and 40 from the next county over. I mean, it was, and they just ran the ball and kind of waved the white flag and set Jake Bates up for 3. That's a play you got to score on. I don't want to put too much weight into this game overall because, again, I can't sit here and call it a glorified scrimmage and then also say, you know, this is what Michigan needs to clean up or this is what Birmingham did better. Like, we could pretty much forget about this one except Bryce Perkins. That's my main takeaway. You can't just erase that. And you better hope, if you're a Panthers fan, that he's available because, again, I know Etling's a vet and he's capable, but it would be nice to have Bryce Perkins in this spot as a 6.5-point dog next weekend heading into the USFL Conference Championship game where you figure they will get Matt Colburn and Marcus Sims, their 2 biggest playmakers, back in the lineup. And shout out Sayosi Mariner, great game. Want to end it with this. Birmingham, congratulations on your 9-1 season. Let's see if you can make it 3 in a row. On to the next game. It was San Antonio and St. Louis battling for home field advantage in the Dome. Winner would get to host the XFL Conference Championship game. And boy, did this one start off slow. Oh, man, we limped through the beginning of this game. A.J. McCarron makes his return. Did he look 100% to you guys? I think they looked like they were in their normal offense. Of course, I think Bruce Gradkowski and AJ have the ability to potentially hide some things. But if that was the case, they got into a situation against a San Antonio defense where they had to call the money plays down the stretch to win that game. For San Antonio, they start Chase Garbers, and much like Bryce Perkins in the last game we just talked about, he gets hurt. And sure, this game meant a lot more. They wanted to host that XFL Conference Championship, so, you know, you wanted all your guys out, Anthony McFarland and John Lovett, or Cody Latimer, who they lost last week. They did have Chase Garbers, and he was hurt pretty early on. I think it was like 2 minutes left in the half. He went down on a sack, landed awkwardly on his wrist, which is the original injury he had against the Battlehawks back in week 3. Looks like he re-hurt it. And as Dormady came in, you're looking on the sidelines, seeing Quentin come over and talking to Chase, who was in street clothes with a big old pack of ice wrapped around that wrist. And that is just not what you want to see if you're a San Antonio fan. Quentin Dormady did what he could. I thought in the second half, you know, he was throwing the ball downfield as he always does. I think looking at the box score here, San Antonio had a bunch of big passing plays. In fact, they had 7 plays of more than 15 yards, which is huge for them because last time they met up with St. Louis, they could not throw the ball with Garbers whatsoever. So Dormady, different play style. He ends up 15 of 27, 188 yards, and a score in relief of Garbers. Again, McFarland and Lovett out. So I'll go to you for this one, Zook. We talk about Colburn and Sims out for Michigan. You know, 2 of the biggest playmakers. How many points is that worth? McFarland and Lovett. To you, Juice Ellison, who's kind of a raw back, right? can get between the tackles, can get the job done, but he does things like fumble that kind of kill you, and he doesn't have the complete package like some of those other guys do. How many points do you think McFarland and Lovett, and maybe I'll even ask Cody Latimer, might be worth? They're going to get 2 of those 3 guys back. Does that make a big difference for you in the XFL Championship game?
I really think it does. I mean, McFarland is so explosive; he can score at any time.
They could have used him,
right?
Right. They were sputtering. Yeah.
That's huge. When you have a playmaker like him, yeah. I mean, Juice is a power back. He's not just gonna. He ain't breaking out and running for 40 yards.
Right.
Unless he runs right through you.
Yeah, he actually had 11 carries for 43 yards and a touchdown, but he had a crucial fumble.
Yeah, that fumble was huge.
Killer. And
it hurt me internally.
Yeah, as a Sea Dragon guy. And St. Louis run defense was exceptional yet again. They did bounce back from that Arlington game. We wondered if they were going to. So if you have any questions about that defense, I don't think you necessarily need to anymore. They played really well today, so.
Yeah, I mean, both did.
Yeah.
And you're kind of saying is AJ 100%. He has he has way too many weapons.
Right.
My takeaway from the game is they didn't roll him out. They were having offensive line trouble in the beginning. He was getting sacked. He was getting hit.
Yeah.
I think you have to give him a few designed rollouts, even though he's not a running quarterback. At least get him out of the pocket.
Yeah.
Slide that protection. I just didn't see it happen. So I think Bruce could do a better job with that. With the protection package. I do want to say, TPG, you are wrong. Mr. Tabor, that was not that was not a dirty hit. AJ was a runner. The other one, who was that grabbed his ankle and pulled?
Yeah, so
that's dirty.
Right. To back it up a bit, Zook's referencing I believe it was a 2nd and 7 or a 3rd and 7. AJ scrambling inside the red zone, running towards the near sideline, running out of bounds. So he's a runner. He's sort of giving himself up.
Right.
I'm somewhere in between you and TPG here.
I'm not.
Because the way the rest of the game went, you can't tell me that they weren't focused on the ankle.
I'm not saying that he didn't target the ankle.
But is it against the rules, right?
That's
what you're right.
At that point, he's a runner. I don't care what
you have to
do.
enforce the rules, and the rules may not have called for a flag there.
You
right.
can't go low there.
Intent doesn't necessarily matter, right, is what you're saying. So, yeah, we saw another one with Garrett Nelson, right?
Now that was horrible.
It's like you're going to get caught on camera because you're doing that. I mean, you clearly – he was letting him up.
Like UFC'd his leg.
Well, he was letting him up. And then I think it clicked for Nelson that he's like, I shouldn't let him – why would I let him up? Yeah. AJ was climbing out of that sack, and he didn't kick his foot back or do anything that would have caused it. He was getting up out of the sack, and he grabbed and squeezed that leg. Garrett, you weren't on the bottom of a pile. You weren't in a big scrum. You weren't getting away with that one.
No, that was not good.
AJ immediately kind of like twitched. Like, I can only imagine the pain that would cause when you already have a busted ankle. He's been hurting all year. He was, in this game on who knows what to try to get through.
Yeah,
and you got that. It's just dirty, and you need a fine for that kind of stuff.
We've been saying this all year, though. There's a lot of after the play stuff that's not getting called, and the officials need to get better on this and really call that.
I guess this is the problem with calling that, or with ejecting him or doing something crazy. It's not in the rule book that you can't target an injury, right? That's the problem. Like, guys do that all the time. They grab a leg, like they wrap up and like try to not let a guy get up. We see that all the time. This time, the intent was to re-injure the ankle. But to the officiating crew, seeing it black and white, that's just, he's just, doing a little bit extra after the play to hold him down. Well, that wasn't the case, right?
I don't know.
Because not everybody has a high ankle sprain.
I get that. But in that situation, you can, if you're an official, you can call delay a game on the defense.
Yeah. It was egregious. You can't do that.
You could call, I don't know, unnecessary roughness.
Anthony Beck lost his mind. And
but he lost his mind on the other one.
He was
the one that I said was clean.
Yeah. I don't want to read too in between the lines here, but that handshake between him and Wade Phillips seemed pretty brief at the end of the game. And again, we don't think this has anything to do with Wade Phillips. I just think this is a defense that went out there and said, yeah, we got to see this guy next week. Let's bust him up a little bit. And everybody wasn't guilty of that.
And
We're just calling it how we see it with the few that we did see.
I don't disagree that there were some calls that were bad there, but I do disagree that it's not everything that you saw.
Yeah.
And you can't get up in arms just because Becht was.
Yeah, and
I mean, how many times do you see players like, oh, I didn't foul him.
Yeah.
Like go to basketball. I didn't even touch the guy. You
can't
watch
let
the
them sway your
replay.
opinions of that.
It's like bang, got him.
Right,
so.
right. Yeah, and when you think about this, AJ got the last laugh because on the conversion at the end of the game, he's running over the sideline screaming, "They got a man downfield. It's a lineman. There's a lineman downfield." And it's funny, Fox cut his mic off. They're like, "There's AJ carrying on again." Like,
yeah.
one of the most vocal guys in the stadium.
But
I think you could hear him from the upper deck.
What a great call.
Yeah. I think
Game winner.
AJ and Bruce and whoever was involved there wanted to challenge that. They said, Beck said, "Give me a number. You got to give me somebody." They said it was the left tackle, and
Right.
it was Pereira, right? Pereira looked at it,
Yeah.
and he said, "Yeah." I mean,
50.
actually, they were looking at, was Kirkland in first, right?
At first.
And then
yes.
it was all of a sudden, no, super challenge for an eligible man downfield. So,
Yeah, they called it good
Right.
at first. Did he cross? Yeah, he crossed, and then
yeah.
the super challenge happened.
If
so.
you were in the Battle Dome, that had to be pretty nerve-wracking because you don't know what's going on. We're sitting
Yeah.
at home like, okay, at least we know that Becht is about to challenge us. If you're in the Dome, you're thinking, oh, he's in or he's out, right? We're going to win it or lose it right here, basically.
Right.
And you're not even realizing what the conversation on the sideline is. So when
Yeah, but
when
you're
they throw the super challenge, you think, well, what are they challenging
But
now?
they're
They already
also-
looked at it.
They're also
Yeah.
pumping that through the stadium, so they hear exactly.
Right, but the review
what-
originally was in or out, so they didn't see it yet.
Right.
Until it, like, that had to be a crazy 5 minutes, right? If you're sitting there
Oh,
wondering
it's
what
wild.
the hell is going on here.
I mean, they went for that 2 points 3 times.
Yeah, and then AJ Smith lost
because there was a
yeah,
false start.
right.
Or
Backed them up even farther. So, and AJ
craziness.
Smith thought it was PI on the one that they tried from like the 9-yard line in the end zone. But it seemed to me, Zook, like San Antonio, they tend to do this in late game situations. They get the ball to their playmakers. Like we know AJ Smith calls GTFO a lot.
Yeah.
Which is just, we're going to get our best receiver wide open. They did this a lot with Cody Latimer. Now that he's out, what happened in the fourth quarter? It was the John Trey Kirkland show. It was, we're going to put the ball in this guy's hand. He's been in the NFL. He's clearly one of the best receivers in the league. So we're going to win it or lose it with John Trey. And they almost damn near won it with him.
Yeah.
And wow, he has had an excellent last couple of games. He started off a little slow, but he's had a great last couple of games.
I'm super surprised that both these offenses couldn't get over 25.
Think about
total.
it. AJ today, and again, take from it what you will. When we talk about him being 100%, he definitely wasn't 100% physically. Was there 100% of the offense? I don't think so either. But he was 10 of 24 for 115 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. So not the best day for AJ, but
No.
he'll tell you, win's a win, man. Like, this is the football, this is the UFL.
Well, they got what they needed.
They needed
to
home
be-
field, right?
Dome field advantage, I heard it called.
And hats off to the Battlehawks
Nothing?
faithful.
Dome field?
Oh, I mean,
Oh.
you're real original. Like, you haven't seen that one on social
I
media.
just said I heard it today,
Yeah.
and I like it.
It is cool. And I think that if you're
Whatever.
a St. Louis fan, really tip our hat to the 35, 34, whatever it was, thousand that show up for a game that a lot of people told you, this isn't the big one. The big one's next week.
Right.
They wanted to be there. And, now, potentially, they could be there 2 more weeks in a row if things work out their way. I saw some weird things in this. Like, you're handing the ball to Peasy as a running back. I was like, that can't be in the normal playbook, right? But maybe they're adding some wrinkles. Ultimately,
Do you think that's something where they're just trying to get them thinking for next
yeah,
week?
I don't know. Like, I
Yeah,
just
'cause
know
there's
how
gotta be-
cerebral Bruce Gradkowski and AJ are when they're in those meeting rooms together, talking about what they want to do and what they don't want to do.
There's got to be a lot of gamesmanship going on.
Yeah, the Battlehawks are absolutely better on offense than what they showed. Trust that. Hakeem Butler, 2 catches for 34 yards. And in the last 2 weeks, Butler, I think 4 catches for 46 yards. I mean, this was a guy who had back-to-back, like 130-yard plus games and broke things wide
Yeah.
open. So
Butler hasn't had a good game since TPG said to sit him. He just literally went off.
he's the jinx.
He went off that game, and since that, nothing.
Yeah, I mean, you could look down the board for St. Louis offense. You said 115 passing yards. They did all right running the ball, but 2 of 12 on third down. That's awful. They were 0 of 2 in red zone touchdown chances. They turned the ball over with a pick. Things were not good in this game from an offensive standpoint. Let's talk about the San Antonio quarterback situation a little bit, Zook. Chase Garbers, what a roller coaster for him. I mean, you hurt your wrist in week 3. You're out for 6 weeks. You come back. This is your chance. You lead your team to a huge win in relief of Dormady against Birmingham. Your coach comes out and says, okay, you've earned your job back. You get hurt again in the first half. It kills me for Chase Garbers.
I want to know, because I don't have the injury, how much does it hurt, and what does the shot do for it?
Yeah, it didn't. It's his throwing wrist. It didn't look good.
No, it's his. I thought it's.
Is it the non-throwing hand? It is. Okay.
It's his left.
All right, you correct me on that one because I'm
very certain.
I may be wrong there.
So what I want to know is, okay, fine, you could pull the plug on him today, or Saturday, because it doesn't matter. All right, fine. We'll go back to the dome.
Okay.
But playoff, if you can tolerate that pain, you better be in there, because you're trying to get to the next level. And if you can't tolerate pain, you're not going to be in the NFL.
Right.
Not a chance.
So the Brahmas do this offensively without Garbers for the second half, without McFarland and Lovett for the whole game. So it's a lot of that same conversation we had with Michigan and Birmingham. When those guys come back, how many points are they worth? I think Anthony McFarland potentially re-injured his shoulder. It's tough to say, like, rest versus actual injury, because McFarland was back and playing at a high level and then went back on the injury report with the same injury he had suffered previously with his shoulder.
I think it was the same thing as Birmingham. They already said they were going to sit certain players throughout the last 3 weeks.
Ricky Person sat without an injury, so that's definitely a rest.
Well,
I just don't know with McFarland.
That was predetermined.
Yeah.
Skip went to every running back on that roster and said, you're sitting this week,
right.
You're sitting next week, you're sitting the third week, and that's it. So, yeah, maybe he's banged up a little bit, but I fully expect him to play.
Yeah, and he said some things about John Lovett as well, that he was going to wait on Lovett and bring him back. Now, he missed with a chest injury apparently, but again, John Trey Kirkland's a matchup nightmare. We'll see what the St. Louis defense does this next time around to try to take him out of it. But ultimately, that Battlehawks defense, man, they are loaded. Willie Harvey, 10 tackles, 2 TFLs, and a sack. He just pops on tape every single week. And he's got Mike Rose in the linebacking core with him. I mean, that linebacking core is second to none. And even look at San Antonio's linebackers with Beckett and Williams and how good they've been, and the D-line for San Antonio. This was just 2 of the best defenses in the UFL. And the Battlehawks sneaked this out. Santoso missed 2 field goals. The one was blocked. I don't expect him to make a 59. But the Brahmas leave.
San who?
There's a few people out there who want to hear this, Zook.
All right.
I'll lobby this up. But yeah, before you do this, they're not going to clip it with me on screen. You got to bring yourself on. You got to own it. You got to own it.
Saying, no, so.
Zook, keep in mind, Ryan Santoso is 6'5", 260 pounds.
He doesn't know where I live. Anyways, I do want to ask this because this is very interesting. I'm glad we brought this up. Besides me getting killed. He has now missed his last 5 attempts. 1 has been blocked. Do you trust him? Or is he mentally done? You know how that works for NFL kickers. This is how they go out of the league.
Yeah.
You miss a few in a row, and then
now you're back in the dome again. That has to just weigh on you. Like, you're not sleeping tonight thinking, if I just make one of those kicks, we get back in the Alamo Dome, I forget about it. You miss both.
5.
1 gets blocked. I mean,
5 in a row.
Yeah.
Going back.
Yeah. And now you're just replaying that in your mind, and you get to step right back into the building. I think Santoso has it in him. But it has to be frustrating because you know who this would have been? Destroying.
Yeah.
This would have been his stage.
True.
We can never really know if he would have became a star or not. All we have is Ryan Santoso not living up to whatever Destroying did in camp for them to believe in him enough to make him the starting kicker.
Right.
So, what
I didn't
could have
even
been?
think about it like
What
that.
could
Good-
I know
good
it was a
point.
long time ago, but you know what could have been. And on the other side, Andre Schmidt for St. Louis has been great.
Andre
He's-
Schmidt is the
yeah.
shit.
He's got
That's
the
what I say.
highest. So we got Sanoso and the shit. All right, Zook is killing it with the special teams tonight. For the brand, baby.
So what's up?
Yeah, so again, just a weird week with injuries and guys resting and, you know, these 2 Saturday games. I got a weird vibe from both of them. It just felt different. And it definitely wasn't the best versions of these teams. So I'm okay with that because we might have slept a little bit through week 10. We had some good finishes, but we didn't have good offense. So if you're looking for that sort of thing, tune in for the playoffs, and I think you're going to see some bounce back. I mean, this is gold when you have A.J. Smith for San Antonio against Donnie Abraham for St. Louis. 2 of the best coordinators all year. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch this second time around, but it was important for St. Louis to lock up home field advantage, and that's ultimately what they did. Those were the 2 that mattered. Renegades ride past. I'm just going to read it. Renegades ride past DC, 32-31. A lot of chatter online about Luis Perez and Jordan Ta'amu facing off for like the 100th time in their spring football careers. I think they played in XFL 2020. They played in USFL 2022. They played like 5 times in XFL 2023 and now twice again this year. And I think they're tied total. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm sure somebody will. But Luis Perez, what an end of the season for him. He goes over 2,000 passing yards. He did throw a couple of picks, and DC had some chances to capitalize. I thought the one with 8 minutes left in the game, up 6, should have been the dagger. But Perez was great through the air. Again, outside of that, 23 of 37, 215 yards, another 3 touchdown passes. I mean,
Why are you talking about DC? I'm just kind of wondering.
well, Arlington won the game. So we're going to talk about the
I
winning
wasn't
team.
sure if it's because you promised you weren't gonna, or
Because, you know why, Zook? Because 5 times this year in prior losses, I started out talking about the losing team. So I'm going to talk about the winning team tonight. Great
Keep-
run defense
keep
from the Renegades.
roll.
We'll get there.
Oh,
We'll get there.
4 and 6.
I got to give
Got it.
Renegades their flowers
All right.
first.
Sorry, I just
Plus, I almost lost my mind here on the set earlier. Sorry, Fred Durst. Do not cease and desist. I was just doing a cover song.
Oh,
of
you
Limp
don't
Bizkit.
sound anything like him, so you're good.
I'm not Limp Bizkit. I'm just limp. Much like DC's run defense today. They give up 120 on the ground. Here we go again. Davion Smith, 94 yards. And, you know, back and forth affair. I mean, DC had it at 15-6 at one point. Arlington answered right before the end of the first half. And we had 9 total points. Or what was it? It was actually 3-3 at the end of the first. So I'm sitting on the over 46.5. And, of course, they're talking about it on the broadcast like, oh, this is not looking good for the over. I'm like, come on, ESPN, pump the brakes here. Have some faith. I think the play-by-play guy, who was it, Lowell Galindo today, he actually had the over. So he's like, oh, I'm toast after the first quarter. I'm like, Lowell, we'll get there. Chill out. Well, they scored
Yeah, he's like,
23 points in the second quarter.
of course they're kicking a field goal right now. He
Yeah,
was
it was
so
great.
pissed.
I love when I get to sweat the overs with the play-by-play crew. That's always a great time. Obviously, the beer snake was highlighted in great fashion today. We had the little package at halftime. Again, best fans in sports, in my opinion. Sure, I'm biased, but they come out and show up 13,000 strong today. That was nearly double the Birmingham Stallions for a game that didn't matter. I'm going to get myself in trouble here. I see Zook smirking at me already. Yeah, DC had 13,000 in attendance. The beer snake section was packed and loaded. that was really the highlight of the day, other than Chris Rowland being a complete beast out there. 316 all-purpose yards. I tweeted out after the first kick return where he took it inside the 40. I said, please, football gods, I've been asking you. He does this every week. And usually it's like, after he does it, it's like 3 downs, -6 yards, and then McCrane has to kick like a 45-yard field goal. But after he got the first one, I tweeted out, please, football gods, let Chris Rowland get one before the season's over. That's all I can ask for in a season like this. And the next one, house call, baby. And Chris Rowland, friend of the Boulevard, we had him on, I think, week 2. Great performance today. But, yeah, outshined by Tyler Vaughns for the Arlington offense, who 5 catches, 84 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Really a great season for Vaughns. Seems to be a different receiver every week here, right? It was Peyton at times, then it was Canella, then it was Vaughns. They've even had Winstead mixed in. Deontay Burnett caught it. I mean, it's hard to believe this team is 3-7. And Zook, we talked about over-unders, right? Like, I think I said they'd get to 4 wins when they were 0-6. I thought they'd actually – no, I said 3 because I didn't think they'd beat DC, but they went 3-1 their last 4 games. That's, what could have been. What could have been for the Renegades here.
Yeah, I agree. Man, and what they have, 4 games they lost by 1 score?
Oh, they had so many fourth-quarter leads in these games.
Well, they blew it by 11 to DC the first time.
Yeah, and even that Michigan game, we think about that with the offsides that they missed. How much of that would that have changed the season?
Yeah.
But, you'll see coming up in the poll. I know that DC and Arlington split the season series, and the Beer Snake defender, who had himself a day, pointed out to me on Twitter that the score was 60-60 total between the 2 teams this year because it was a 1-point win both ways. So
wow.
I am still going to say Arlington at the end of the season is the better team because the way that they looked in the last 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Versus games that DC had a chance to win. Here's your opportunity against St. Louis without McCarron, you lose. Here's an opportunity against Michigan after San Antonio was giving you an opportunity, opening the door to make the playoffs. You do nothing. So Arlington actually capitalized on the opportunity they had, even though they were out of the playoffs. Shout out to that coaching staff and those players for not giving up. Let's talk about Perez.
I wanted to throw some one-liners about DC real quick. Go ahead. Let's talk about Perez.
5 defensive linemen are all lined up too close. All 5 lined up too close. That's the only thing I want to hear you talk about. It was in your top moments. What else did he say?
Greg, he dropped a.
We omitted this.
No, I didn't. I just couldn't get it. If I could have got the actual audio, I would have played it for sure.
Said, back the frig up.
Yeah, back up.
And
get up.
We cashed the over on Greg Williams' F-bombs this season. I think I had the over 6.5. We cashed for 7 today.
He has made. We're going to have a category on the Freshies about
quote of the year.
No, not. Well, maybe quote. But
could be up for
my
multiple nominations.
My nomination for best thing I saw all year, and he's been on the show a few times.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, at the beginning of the game, he had the secondary playing all right. I mean, they didn't have Michael Joseph or Nader Rouse today, which with both their slot corners out, so they had to move some guys around. And Gary Conley thought he played well. He had a pick, and then Monte Nicholson came up with one of Perez late in the game. They did pick him off twice, which should have been enough because he's only been picked off twice the whole season. Let's talk about Perez a little bit.
I'll get to my one-liners later.
Yeah, so some chatter about him potentially retiring after the season. And again, nothing confirmed. We don't really know, but this is what we do on Springball Boulevard, right? We like to talk about what could be next season. Wow, if it is, what a way to go out for Perez. I mean, obviously not the best end of the season from a record perspective, but playing his best ball individually for sure. Even if you look at the seasons where he won a championship or the seasons where his team made the playoffs, I think this is the first time he didn't make the playoffs in a spring season. He still played his best season of his career, independent of all that.
Right. Perez is my favorite player.
Yeah. The king of spring, right?
He's ended both seasons.
You scumbag.
Beating DC. You call me a
scumbag. You know what? I love the guy too, and I can't even hate him for that.
I'm just saying.
He did it with class. He did it with class.
Brings it.
Just like the DC Defenders did it with class when they beat Ben DiNucci 3 times.
Wow, did they? Wow.
Anyway, I could go on all
You
night,
guys
but-
threw up a lemon this year, just like you did last year, onto the field.
So
Best fans.
let me ask you this: Why did the Renegades, in your opinion, draft Lindsey Scott Jr.? Do they know something about? There's really 2 schools of thought here. Do they know something about Perez's future coming in that maybe we didn't? Or a great point that Nick Thorne from PFN pointed out to me on Twitter. Did they just not know if Perez was potentially going to come back because he wasn't re-signed yet, so they had a plan B in mind?
I
Which
think
one
it
do
could
you
be
think?
a combination of both,
Yeah.
but if he came into this year saying, this
might
is
be
it,
Yeah.
hanging it up, because you don't know his thought process. I'd love to get him on the show
Yeah.
and ask him if he doesn't get a shot at the NFL after the year he had, even though, take the record aside, he played good.
Yeah.
And he's very cerebral. He plays smart. He does what he's supposed to do. He should probably at least get a camp.
Yeah.
And if he gets cut after that, how much more are you willing to take?
What a journey, yeah, for Perez, and that's a great point, Zook. I'm in the school of thought that I think they may have known something, and
And you may be right. We talked
Yeah.
about this. We talked about this before show quite a bit.
yeah, I mean, this XFL dispersal draft, that you could only pick players from the XFL merge, so you were getting guys. Actually, Lindsey Scott Jr. was signed to the Houston Roughnecks, so he was technically out in the merge, right? So, because the Gamblers were the team that they kept the actual original Houston Roughnecks, all their players from John Trey Kirkland to Trent Harris, and then Lindsey Scott Jr. got put in this draft pool that the Renegades had the number 1 pick in January, and they picked Lindsey Scott Jr., who I mocked number 1. I thought they would pick him, but I actually mocked him. I had the wrong draft order. I mocked him to San Antonio because they had the worst record in the conference, but there was a trade that went on where somehow the champ of the league got the number 1 pick. Still don't know what happened there.
Yeah.
But
Nobody does.
yeah, how'd that work out? But it was weird because the number 1 pick for them so far, I'm not willing to call it yet, but it was kind of a bust this year because they didn't get him on the field much. So why do that if you know you're going to ride with Perez all season? Yeah, they had some packages for Scott. He scored a couple of touchdowns, but I mean, think about who you could have got. Cody Latimer, Ja'Cour Pearson, or their defense was horrible. You could have went out and got a top-tier corner, or you could have got somebody to bolster your D-line.
Yeah, I thought it was weird that once Arlington was eliminated from the playoffs, that they just never. Luis just played the whole time.
Yeah,
So
he's a robot. Yeah, he's not human.
are you gonna figure out what you have or not? And they didn't.
Yeah.
So I'm confused about that part more than anything. If you're gonna take that guy number 1 overall, you didn't use him at all besides
Just
specific
some short yard.
packages?
It was almost like Kelly Bryant last year is how they kind of forced him into that package.
It doesn't make sense to me. So
yeah, there were times where they were eliminated that they could have given Lindsey Scott a full game. You know, you could debate that really from either side, but it makes me wonder if now Arlington has their quarterback of the future because, you know, Perez would be super tough to replace.
sure. So
otherwise.
I guess here's the thought though. Are they not willing to play him because it's that much of a gap between the two?
I mean, Perez was phenomenal.
I know that, but
Not so much early on. Yeah,
but
I get
if you
your
don't
point.
have anything to play for, why
Yeah.
aren't you giving him a game?
He did have, there was a game, and, you know, this was in our Renegades era where we were.
What do you mean era? It's still going on.
Look at the winning wager. I mean, none of us, we didn't bet them, but
Yeah, that's why they won.
you picked them straight up.
That's why they won.
You picked them last couple weeks straight up.
I have.
But-
and I've been right 3 out of 4 times.
It's hard to look back and think this team lost 17-9 to Houston. That was not his finest day, right? Everybody has their bad games. You could say A.J. McCarron had his today, maybe for the first time this season. But, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I'm not saying that Luis Perez is done. We want him to come back. He's the king of spring. If he does come back, chill out on DC a little bit. He seems to always play his best games against us. How about we don't do that next year? I promised you on Thursday, Zook, that Thursday during the preview would be the last time I talked about the defenders. So this is literally all I'm going to say, because if you've watched Springball, I'm sorry. If you're tuning in for the first time, then I take a walk to the YouTube channel and check out what I said the last 6 weeks, because I'm tired of repeating myself.
I heard something about, like, I'm right. I've been off them the whole year.
How much do you think I lost on these title futures? All right, that's enough. You should look at my bet slips and say, I lost too many units on DC Defenders Championship season.
I honestly don't care.
That's not even a win for Zook, huh?
What? No, I don't. I don't care about your futures or your. All I know is that I had to listen to your dumbass all last year. DC. Oh my God, it was horrible. I wanted to cry. I had to listen to you.
I think you did cry for that third loss.
Kick, yeah, a little bit. I cried on the train. I just had to listen to it all year. So you know what? I'm soaking it in, and I love it.
This is my last thought on the DC Defenders for the 2024 season. Mike Mitchell. I'm looking at you, Mike. I owe you an apology. Preseason, Mike, you said 5-5. I thought you were ballistic. I had never seen anything further from the truth. I was convinced you were drinking during that article.
Was that before or after Abram?
That was after Abram.
Wow.
Still, I was like, no way. Look at the defensive line. All these guys together. Trent Harris, Davin Bellamy. The D-line looks so good. And then JT coming back. And yeah, you lost Abram Smith, but you still won 9 games in the regular season last year. So I had many reasons, much of it bias, to doubt Mike Mitchell. Mike, you were right. I was wrong. In fact, they did worse than 5-5. He also nailed the prediction. He said 34-32 today. Really close. We both had the over. So if you're not familiar with Mike Mitchell, I don't know how you aren't, first of all, but if you are, should be. He is the Adam Schefter of the UFL, and he does great work for Sports Illustrated.
He called the Roland.
Yeah, he said that too. He said that too
in his preview this week.
Gotta love it, man.
I give him his props.
Mike's got a crystal ball back there, and it's tough because he covers the defenders, and yeah, what a realistic approach to the season. That if I would have taken that same approach as Mike, I would not be going home tonight and. I'm not even going to say what I'm going to do when I go home tonight, because it's probably going to be sad for a lot of people. But listen, all I know.
So what are you eating?
Yeah, I'm stressed. I'm stressed because looking back at the title futures, I'm thinking that was probably a bad decision. That was probably a little too much there, Matty Fresh. Yeah, I had fun with Chris Rowland today. That was the highlight. And the Beer Snake, again, I want to name a lot of these guys. The Beer Snake defender who had the tarp off today. Nice call out of Birmingham saying, I had the tarp off. I know you did. He had it off against St. Louis last year. So all these Birmingham shirtless guys, you gotta respect the tarp off in DC first. The district defender, Doug defender, Lemon Guy, the DC conductors, they all made Sports Center, which was awesome to see. I was a little disappointed that Springball Boulevard didn't make Sports Center because we had a nice call out to Audi Field Security when they were deassembling the Beer Snake against Seattle week 1 in XFL 2023. Could have used a clip from us there, but that's okay. We'll get on ESPN some days. On to the toilet bowl. TPG had Houston -2 in this one. there was a shot at the end of the game. Henderson had him driving down the field, and you figured, oh, maybe what are they going to do here if they score? Go for 2, win it 20-19, go for 1, tie it up, go to overtime. Maybe he has a chance to push, but the toilet paper game. Yeah, we had Josh Love against Nolan Henderson. I talked about on Thursday that when I went to take my trash out this week, I actually took a look at my trash can lid and it said Roughnecks. And then I actually sent TPG and Zook a picture in my group chat that I wasn't lying. So that's why I actually didn't take Houston -2. I was about to.
Confirm.
I was about to tail TPG. I saw that and I was like, yeah, that is not a good sign. What are the chances that first time in 2 years I look at my trash can and it says Roughnecks? So, yeah, I mean, this didn't go the way I expected. Houston, 323 total yards. Memphis, 203. Showboats find a way to win with John DeFilippo losing his mind on the sideline. We love you, Coach Flip. You always put a show on for us. He had some comments about the wrong hash mark being used on a field goal, and Joel Klatt absolutely buried him after that. I don't know what Coach Flip is talking about. Joel Klatt. I'm sure Joel Klatt is just about ready for college football season to start after seeing this game tonight. But hey, the Memphis Showboats sweep the Roughnecks. I mean, that's got to be a bitter pill to swallow if you're a Houston fan. Yikes. They played their best football in week 1 and week 10. Started off with a bang with Case Cookus, and they end it with a bang with Josh Love. Darius Victor tonight. 10 carries, 54 yards, and pair of scores. This was ugly. They traded field goals quite a bit, and the under comes home. So this week we had 3 unders and an over. DC over was the only one that cashes. Memphis wins as a dog. So all the favorites, well, Arlington, so both dogs, Arlington and Memphis. They were short underdogs, but they both get the job done. Thought, Zook, on Josh Love. Should he have been more involved in this offense this season? And was he an alternative to Case Cookus or Troy Williams that maybe could have won him a couple games?
Yeah, he didn't look bad.
20 of 29, 152 yards with a pick.
Yeah. I mean, he didn't look bad at all.
Game manager. For sure.
Sure. Yeah, you want to say that. He
played a lot against Michigan, and they almost won that game, too. So,
I mean, I don't know.
Henderson looks pretty good as well, I'd say.
Yeah, he does. Literally, my only takeaway from this game is what we talked right about at the end. CJ, you got to find another job because this one isn't it.
Yeah, I'd have to agree.
I mean, you're getting the play call from your quarterback. Henderson
called his own shot.
He called his own play, and then there was still more time in that timeout. And Sinet's like, hey, so if we get a first down or if we don't, are we going to clock the ball? And he's like, oh, yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, it was more like, hey, first down, we clock it, right?
Everybody else is telling him what to do, and he's just agreeing with it. And I like the guy. I really hate saying it. And I'm not one of those people that want to call for people's jobs.
It's over, Zook.
But
it's
God
over.
Damn.
It's over. Yeah. This whole thing failed, right? This whole
gots to go.
Right.
Sure.
This whole slap a new paint scheme on the Houston Gamblers was a complete failure from start to finish. It was the wrong decision by the merge to do this. They completely fleeced a great fan base in Houston who that was bad too. But remember, 2020 Houston Roughnecks before COVID, 5-0. Nobody comes close to beating them. PJ Walker and Cam Phillips look like bona fide stars. Both get to the NFL. AJ Smith was the offensive coordinator. June Jones was the head coach. That fan base had 35K showing up. Everything went against them this year. The team sucked. They made the wrong decision in the merge to bring the Gamblers over, try to rebrand them and sell them to the city. They lost their stadium to renovations, and they had to play at Rice instead of playing over at the better stadium at Houston.
Right.
And this was a disaster. They were 1-9. And it was just terrible for everybody involved in this organization from start to finish. And I really hope that the UFL will reconsider this, because I get it had to be an equal merge, right? You wanted to do 4 USFL teams and 4 XFL teams, but we technically got 5 XFL teams out of it, right? And
Ish.
yeah, I just feel bad.
We'll call that like 4.5.
You just lost the Houston fan base.
Yeah.
You lost it. It's gone after this season. Yes, there's some diehards that will continue to show up, and if you're one of those, salute to you. The pain that you suffered through this season makes you some of the fans of the year, and the heat that you got, Houston in late May. Good luck. But something needs to be done here, because Houston had so much promise as a city in spring football. I saw 30,000 plus show up there. And even last year, when they were Wade Phillips and A.J. Smith, they were a good team in the regular season. For a while, we had them number 1.
Yeah, you're not wrong about that attendance thing. But I will say, it's just, again, I'm biased because I'm a Seattle fan. And I will be. I'm never picking another team. You asked me that before the show.
Never?
I will never picking another team.
What if they come out tomorrow and say, we lost a trademark?
I'm never picking another team. It's just not happening.
What if someone shows up at your door and says, sir, you have to turn over all your merch because you're in copyright infringement now?
I have to choose my words wisely because I don't want to piss anybody off. I got guns.
Well, the number. You know who else has guns? Ben DiNucci.
That's right.
Watch
And
out.
he's buying them.
Yeah, Houston didn't even get the number 1 pick tonight. They lose everything.
I'm sorry. I have to ask this. I get that you cut Seattle out because of probably the travel distance.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
But how much money did you make because of their attendance over any USFL city?
Great point. And,
just wondering.
Again, people think it came down to I see a lot of talk online. They think it came down to Seattle or Memphis or Seattle or it didn't.
No, it came down to Seattle and San Antonio.
San Antonio, right?
And San Antonio stayed because of The Rock.
They've had some good crowds. You got to give them some credit.
I'm not saying that. No,
Seattle and San Antonio were about even crowd.
But it was because it was equal.
Yep, had to be equal.
Had to be equal.
Had to be equal, but then the USFL side needed the Roughnecks brand.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if they needed it.
You think they could have stayed the Gamblers? They probably should have at this point.
Why wouldn't they?
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm not sure. I'd love to be in those meeting rooms. Let's move along from this toilet paper game.
Well, let's say first, congratulations to the Memphis Showboats. You are on the clock for the 2025 UFL draft.
Every number 1 pick, or every round, right?
Yeah, what the hell's up with that? This isn't a snake draft? Are you serious? You kidding me? What are we doing?
Everyone.
It's a rookie draft, right?
I guess.
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know. Well,
if I'm the UFL,
will they just come out at the end of I don't know, the season and just make up a rule? Because that's what they did, right?
I just want them to broadcast it.
Moose just goes, you know what? It's the end of the season. I'm making a rule.
Yeah.
Winner of this game gets it.
I think.
Why wasn't that broadcast?
I think they had to sell this game to Joel Klatt so he would call it. I think they were like, "Well, Joel, what about if we?"
I love you, Moose. I'm not. I love what you're doing, but I'm just kind of wondering about that.
Yeah, we said on Thursday. Funny for the players who are like, "Oh, great, we win, we get the number 1 pick. Woohoo!" A guy who we're gonna get cut for next year. It's crazy, but yeah, they get the number 1 pick. They're on the clock. Just broadcast the draft. That's all I'm asking. If you have to call Chris Zook here from Studio Z to get a good producer for your draft, email zhopproductions@gmail.com, because what are we doing not broadcasting our draft? I want to see it.
Remotely, I'll do it.
I want to see it.
I'm in.
You don't have to have the guys there that are getting picked. Just give me the GMs, give me
right.
the ownership, and let's do something, right? Let's do with the first pick in the UFL draft, the Memphis Showboats select Ben DiNucci, quarterback.
I'll get him on Zoom.
Yeah. All right. We got one last poll for the regular season, the power poll. This will end week 10 and send us into the UFL playoffs. We got Birmingham at 1, St. Louis at 2 by the thinnest of margins. Let me stress that I would, looking ahead, still pick a full-strength Battlehawks over the Stallions tomorrow on a neutral field. However, I cannot ignore 9-1, the dominant season they had. They're going to end the year number 1 regular season in our power poll. This will be the last poll we do. St. Louis at 2, San Antonio at 3 with a head-to-head win over Michigan at 4. For me, it's Arlington jumping DC. I know they have one less win. They beat DC today, and they showed in the last 4 games that they're a capable team who, quite honestly, might have a shot at any of these playoff teams if they were to play them tomorrow. DC at 6, Memphis with the season sweep of Houston at 7, and CJ Johnson in the cellar at 8. So for the People's Gambler and for the producer, director, and owner of Studio Z, Chris Zook, I'm Matty Fresh. Quick programming note for us here on Springball Boulevard. We're excited to announce that on Thursday, we'll be having our annual UFL postseason honors, the 2024 Freshie Awards. We plan to be on at 7 or 8 o'clock, I would say, if you want to set a reminder Eastern time. We'll see. It's going to be Thursday night for sure. We're going to be live here in Studio Z. We have over 25 categories to give out, and we may have a special guest here on the Boulevard on Thursday night, so tune in for that one. On Friday night, you're going to get our full playoff preview as we have Stallions, Panthers, Battlehawks, Brahmas, everything to break down. We're going to have best bets. We're going to catch up with the stars in those matchups, and we're going to have all the content heading into Saturday's USFL Championship and Sunday's XFL Championship. Next Sunday, we'll be right back here for a recap of it all to send us into the championship in St. Louis. You always remember, there is no such thing as football season.